Hi, I wanted to make this little video as a tribute to my dad. For those of you who couldn't be at his funeral and to whom he meant a lot. Also, I wanted to maybe improve a little on his funeral because there were a couple of things that maybe didn't go quite the way I would have liked them to. There was a little bit of a miscommunication with the parish. Anyway, it's a long story. But I wanted to read the Bible passage that I selected for his eulogy and read the eulogy I wrote. So, the verse I selected is Ecclesiastes 3 through 12. They've always evoked my father. Ecclesiastes is about the only book in the Bible I like anyway, but particularly this part has always really evoked my dad. There is an appointed time for everything, and a time for every affair under the heavens. A time to give birth, and a time to die. A time to plant, and a time to uproot the plant. A time to kill, and a time to heal. A time to tear down, and a time to build. A time to weep, and a time to laugh. A time to mourn, and a time to dance. A time to scatter stones, and a time to gather them. A time to embrace, and a time to be far from embraces. A time to seek, and a time to lose. A time to keep, and a time to cast away. A time to rend, and a time to sow. A time to be silent, and a time to speak. A time to love, and a time to hate. A time of war, and a time of peace. What profit have workers from their toil? I have seen the business that God has given to mortals to be busied about. God has made everything appropriate to its time, but has put the timeless into their hearts, so they cannot find out from beginning to end the work which God has done. I recognized that there is nothing better than to rejoice and to do well in life. This passage has always evoked Gary Lyons. He was a man who loved to work. He lived to do his work. He lived according to his own sense of purpose, according to his own abilities, making the most of what he was given, making do with what he was not. Gary was not always the easiest man to live with. He was not a simple man. He was a mixed bag, full of contradictions. He was always stubborn as an ox, and he always believed in kindness. He did not always know how to express it, but he always knew how to show it. He was a man whose actions spoke louder than his words. He was a person who lived for the sake of doing. Gary always lived one day at a time. He took life as it came at him, at his own pace, in his own way. On the freeway taking his son to college in Bellingham and back, he always got in the fast lane and insistently drove the speed limit. The destination was beside the point. The point was to do what needed to be done, to do it the right way, because that was the only way he could feel he had done the right thing. He started going to church again near the end of his life because he didn't want his wife to have to go by herself. He never stopped complaining about the ingratitude of the people he helped, and he never stopped helping them whenever they needed him. That was how he lived his entire life. Gary did not live according to goals, attainments, big results. He lived for the simple pleasures of life. Working on the mechanics he loved, his handiwork, helping his friends and family with the things they needed, never asking for anything in return. It was enough for him to know that he had done the job well, that he had done the right thing, for the simple joy of doing so. Gary built his life one step at a time, patiently and timelessly, the way he built his own house and never stopped caring for it. He knew how to live in the moment without needing to live big. He believed in doing what needed doing because he knew that was what would last. Providing for his family, taking care of his friends, always concerning himself with what he knew was genuinely important. because those were the only things that would last. He may never have read the words, he may never have been paying attention if they were ever read aloud in church while he was there, but he knew that there was nothing better than to be glad and to do well in life. Yeah, and he really did love you guys. And he was, like I say, he didn't always know how to express it. And he was in a lot of pain, both physical and mental, toward the end of his life. And I think he lived with a lot of pain throughout his life, I think more than he liked to let on. But he really did love you guys, and I know he wanted you to know that. And he knew you loved him too. He really did. So thank you.